Hello and welcome to your day 12 of the Android application development course. Today we'll be starting with tabs, tasks and services. Let's begin the session. First of all, let's understand what are tabs. Tabs are the fastest way to switch between multiple applications or activities on a single page. If you have an Android device and if you press the call button on the Android device, then you get a tabbed layout. That is, at the top you get multiple options. When you click on one option, the lower part of the page refreshes and you get an activity running over there. So if you want to have multiple activities and you want to switch between those multiple activities in a very fast way, then you can use tabs. Normally we keep our layout as linear layout or relative layout, but for tabbed activities the layout must be of the type tab host, because the layout is hosting a tab inside it. That's why it is a tab host. That is fine. The layout indicates that it would be hosting tabs inside it. To add a tab layout, the Android developer community has proposed an XML file. We can use that XML file as it is. So I'll be just showing you that XML file. And the activity for a tab host is tab activity. We have seen activities, those were normal activities which extend from the activity class. We have seen preference activities that extend from the preference activity class, and now we have tab activity that extends from the tab activity class. So each tab is an activity, so it would have an XML layout and a Java code. In your application, if you have 4 tabs, then each of these 4 tabs will be an activity, so each of them will have an XML layout and a Java code. And we need to add the reference of each of the activities inside the Android manifest file. We have already done this when we added multiple activities, but over here as well, whenever we'll be having many activities inside our application, then we have to add the reference of each of the activity inside the manifest file. And we have to appreciate the fact that each of these tabs will have an icon and a text which will be displayed on the top of the tab. To make a clear visualization of this, if you have used the Google Chrome web browser, on the Google Chrome web browser you can have multiple tabs in a single browser. Each of these tabs has a logo at the top and a title. Similarly, each of the tabs of the Android application would also have an icon at the top and a text which will be displayed on the top of the tab. The example of a tabbed application can be like this. Here we have 3 tabs. One is the Star tab and the other is the Info tab. As you can see, the tab has an icon, a text, and this is the main activity of the tab. So this is the tab 1, this is the tab 2. Both of them have the icon and the text, and this is the tab 1's activity. As you can see, right now the Star tab has been selected. That is why it appears in a gray color, while all the other tabs which are not selected appear in a black color. Let's create a tabbed activity. Let's create a project with the name tab demo, and in the main XML file let's type in the following. That's fine, we have the XML version. Now the base element of all the tab layouts is a tab host, so we'll keep the base element as a tab host. To understand the layout more clearly, I'll go back to the previous slide and first explain to you how the layout is made. As you can see, this complete layout is a tab host because it is hosting tabs inside it. The tab host layout contains 2 controls. One is the tab widget. This is the place where you hold the tabs, and below that we have the frame layout, or the layout where your tabs activity is displayed. So you have the tab host. Inside the tab host you have 2 controls placed linearly vertically. The 2 controls are the tab widget and the frame layout. The frame layout is nothing but a layout which is used to hold activities inside it. With that knowledge, we have seen the tab host file. The ID of the tab host has to be @android:id/tab host. This indicates that this tab host is the actual host of the application. So whenever you will be extending the class from the tab activity class, it would search for the ID tab host inside your XML file. So this ID is compulsorily @android:id / tab host. You have to fill the layout width and layout height. Inside the tab host, we have a linear layout because it has two controls inside it. One is the tab widget and the other is the frame layout. Both are placed linearly and vertically. That is fine. The orientation is vertical, width and height of fill parent. Inside the linear layout, we have a tab widget. The ID of the tab widget has to be compulsory @android:id / tabs. This indicates that inside the tab host, I have the tab widget and the tab widget has the ID of tabs. The width is fill parent while the height is wrap content, because we do not want the tab widget to fill the complete area. We just want the tab widget to fill the top of the screen, and the bottom of the screen should be the activity. So the activity will be hosted inside the frame layout. The ID of the frame layout has to be compulsory tab content, that you cannot change. Then you have the layout width and the layout height. Then you close the linear layout and you close the tab host. Okay, so inside the tab host you have a linear layout. Inside the linear layout you have two controls, the tab widget and the frame layout. The tab widget has the ID of tabs and the frame layout has the ID of tab content. This XML file can be directly downloaded from the developer.android.com website, because they have proposed a tab layout for all your activities. Then let's create two more activities, that is the activities which will be displayed on the main panel. Let's create two simple activities with blank layouts and let the Java code be named as main1.java and main2.java. So in our case, now we have three layouts: main activity main.xml, main1.xml, main2.xml. We have three Java codes. One is main activity.java, main1.java, main2.java. Main activity.java contains the tab host. Main1.java will be one of the tabs. Main2.java will be the second tab. Okay, that is fine. Now, currently we have added two blank XML files, but if you want, you can add your application specific code inside these XML files and Java files. For example, if you want a single application that should contain the twinned animation and frame by frame animation, in main1.xml you should write the XML file for the twinned animation. In main2.xml you should write the file for the frame by frame animation. In main1.java you should write the code for twinned animation, and in main2.java you must write the code for the frame by frame animation. So let's see, these are the two activities which are created. This is main1.java, very simple, and main1.xml, that's also very simple. Similarly, we have main2.java and main2.xml. The XML files will be placed inside the res/layout folder, whereas the Java codes will be inside the src folder. The src folder will contain your package. Inside the package you have to add your Java files. Then let's write the main Java code, that is the code in the activity main.java file. That is fine. We have our public class tab demo activity. In our case, this will be main activity extends tab activity. You will not extend it from activity, you will extend it from the tab activity class. Then inside the onCreate method, you will have set content view. The set content view is used so that the main XML and the activity gets linked up. Then we should first get the tab host. The get tab host function will get the tab host of the activity. In this tab host, we have to create two tabs. Each of these tabs will have some specifications. So we have to first specify the specifications of the tab, that is the text on the tab, the icon on the tab, and the layout on the tab. So each tab will be an activity. So we'll first create an intent for it. Intent1 equals to new intent, and we are passing the context of the application and the main1.class. The main one is the tab that we want to launch over here. Then we create a new tab specification by saying tab host dot tab spec spec1 equals to tab host dot new tab spec. The tab host, which will be this tab host, will create a new tab specification. The ID of this will be main1. Then we can fill the specification by saying spec1.setIndicator. The first argument is the text that I want to display, and the second argument is the icon that I want. So I want the icon from the Android's manifest or from the Android's SDK. So what I will do is I will say get resources.get drawable. This function will get the resources and the drawable inside the resources, and I want the drawable from android.r.drawable.btn star. This is one of the drawables that is present inside the Android's R class. We have already seen this when we have created the menu application. We had taken all the drawables from the Android's SDK, that was android.r.drawable.ic input star or ic input add. Similarly, we have taken the same drawables from the Android's SDK. Once we get the tab specifications ready, then we can set the content inside the tab. The content should be the intent one. So whenever someone clicks on this tab specification, the intent one will be called. The intent one is hosting the main1.class. Then we can add this specification to the tab by saying tab host.add tab and the specifications. The specifications contain three things. One is the title of the tab, second is the icon of the tab, and third is the application or the activity that I want inside the tab. So far so good. We can do the same thing for a second tab, create an intent for that, create a specification for that, and set the info on the specification by the text and the drawable. So we get the drawable as IC dialog info. You can get these drawables inside the SDK, and you can also create your own drawables, and in place of android.r.drawable. The drawable name, you can give r.drawable. The drawable name which you have created. So both options can be done by you. Then you can set the content as intent2, and you can add the tab to the tab host. Once you have added the two tabs, out of the two tabs, which tab should be selected by default has to be mentioned by you. So you will say tab host.set current tab 0. This will indicate that select the first tab out of the n number of tabs you have as the current tab. In case of an exception, just toast that exception at the output. I hope we are good up till now. Once we are done with this, we can modify the manifest file by adding the activities to it. So we had two activities, main1 and main2. We have added the activities to the manifest file. After doing this, we can run the application. On running the application, we'll be able to see that we have two tabs. One of the tab is the info tab, and the other tab was the main tab. When you click on one of the tabs, the activity will be launched inside the tab itself. Let's do it in actual practice and see how do we get the output of it. Let's do it for the tab demo application. For that, let's go to File and say New Android Application Project. Give the project name as tabbed demo. Give the package name as com.fitech. Let's give the build SDK as Android 2.3.1 and check on this. Next, and get title of the activity as tabbed demo. Let's click on finish. It will create the new activity. First of all, we have to change the layout of the main activity and change the base element of the layout to tab host. For that, the Android developer community has given us a inbuilt XML file. We'll be just copying and pasting that XML file inside our XML file. So let me just do that. As you can see, we have the tab host. We have a linear layout. Inside the linear layout, we have the tab widget, which will contain the actual tabs, and we have the frame layout, which will contain the content of the tabs. So that is how the layout should look. Now we will go to the src folder and we'll add two activities to it. So let's right click on this and say new class. I'll give the name as activity1 and click on finish. and let's say activity 1 extends activity. Control space will give the list, and inside this let me create just one method of onCreate. Similarly, let's go to the src folder, create one more class. Let's give the class name as activity2, finish it. Again, let's give over here extends activity. That's fine. Then you can say on create, and that is fine with us. Now we have the two classes for the activities. Let's create two XML files or two layouts for the activities. Right click on the layout folder, say new Android XML file, give the name of the file as main1, finish it. Let's just have a simple button over here. Right click on it and say layout with match parent, edit text on this, click to perform activity 1, give the ID of the button as btn activity 1 button. Similarly, let's right click on the layout and say new Android XML file. Let's give the layout name as main2. Again have a button over here, width of the button should match parent, ID should be btn act or say btn activity 2 button. I just misspelled that, just make it correct. Activity, that's fine. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Then you can just have the text on this to perform activity 2 task. That's fine. Now we have two buttons, both of having this like a different text, and whenever you will click on this, something else will happen, and we will click on this, something else will happen. So what we'll do now is we'll first go to the manifest file and add the permission to use the two activities. So inside the manifest, we'll go below the activity tag and have a new activity tag, and over here we'll give Android colon name equals to dot may or activity 1, and let's give the Android colon label equals to this is activity 1. Similarly, let me copy this complete thing up and paste it below it. I'll give activity 2 and I'll give this is activity 2. So far so good. So we have added two classes, activity 1, activity 2. We have made two layouts, main1, main2. We have added the reference of the two classes inside the layout or inside the manifest file. Then in the Java code of the activity, we have to say set content view and give over here r.layout.main1. This indicates that activity 1's layout is main1. Similarly, over here we have to say set content view r.layout.main2. That's fine. Now in the main activity, we have to first remove this on create options menu. Then inside this, we have to first add the two tabs to this activity. First of all, we have to change the base class of this activity to say tab activity, because we want this to be a tab activity. Then we have to say tab host tab equals to get tab host. Once we got the tab host, then let's add first activity to the tab by saying intent int1 equals to new intent. The first argument is the context, so I'll give main activity dot this. Second argument is the class, so I'll say activity1 dot class. Okay, so we have got the intent with us. Let's create a tab spec. So what do we have to say over here? Tab host dot tab spec spec1 equals to new tab host dot tab spec. We have to say over here tab dot new tab spec to give the tag of this. So I'll just give it as main1. Then we have to say spec1 dot set indicator. The indicator will be a char sequence that should be a title that we want over there. So let me give over here activity 1. The icon will be obtained by get resources dot get drawable. Now drawable has to be obtained from the Android's SDK, so we'll say android dot r dot drawable dot. You can use any drawable from here. What we'll be doing is we'll be having a drawable of say star big on that we had used already, and I'll just say spec1 dot set content to be the intent one. Then we have to add this specifications to a tab. For doing that, we'll say tab dot add spec or tab dot add tab. In the tab, we have to say spec1. This will add the first tab. For second tab, the things are similar. Copy this complete thing down and paste it. We'll have intent2, which will be for the activity 2. Then we have spec2 is for main2. Then we'll say spec2 dot set indicator as activity 2, and let us get another drawable for this. Let's say we'll give the drawable for BTN radio. That's fine. Then we'll say spec2 dot set content intent1 intent2, the tab dot add spec2. Then we have to set the default tab. So we'll say tab dot set current tab, and let's give it as the index 0. So far so good. When we run this thing, we'll be getting the output properly. So we'll say right click, run as Android application. Go to the emulator. I'll just say OK and click on the console, so it will give me the status of what is going on in the background. Start the activity for me, and as you can see, we are getting two tabs. One is for the activity 1, which you can see, second for the activity 2. And you can also see that the layout is changing below because we have the two layouts present at two places. Now what we'll do is when someone clicks on this button, something should happen. Someone clicks on this button, something else should happen. For that, we'll go to activity 1. Now the code over here is similar. We'll have step 1, get the references. How do we get the references? By saying final button btn1 equals to button find view by id r.id dot btn activity 1 button. Then we'll say btn1 dot set on click listener new on click listener. We have to import the on click listener first. We will import it. Then we'll just have a toast over here dot make text. Let's get the context of the application and say you have clicked inside activity 1. It was a toast dot length long dot show. Similarly, in the activity 2, we'll again have final button btn2 equals to button find view by id r.id dot btn activity 2 button. Then we'll say btn2 dot set on click listener new on click listener. Again import the on click listener, and we'll say toast dot make text, get the context of the application, say over here you clicked on the button for activity 2. Then you'll say toast dot length long dot show. So far so good. You can have a shortcut to run the application by saying Control F11. It will actually perform the operation to launch the current application. You can say OK. It will launch the application. It's a shorthand for actually running the application on the device. Now when you click on the button, something should happen. When I click on the first button, it will say you clicked inside activity 1. click over here, click for the button of activity 2. I hope this was fine to you. What you can do is you can have multiple tabs over here, and in each of the tabs try to have one or more applications that we have already learned in the classes. So whenever you will click on this, you will be able to get the output on the screen, and this should show that how Android manages its tabs. Means whenever you click on one of the tab, the other tab goes in the background. When you click on the other tab, like all the remaining tabs go in the background.